But I think you like mentioned things like system of oppression. But do you think it's fair to judge the experiences of people in the past and judge it on people today?
Sure, I actually think that's a really interesting question because there's a lot of like research coming out about how trauma is intergenerational and how it passes through. I mean, there's some stuff that's a little out there that talks about how the trauma can actually pass through the womb and pass through our cells. But even just the memory of that, the experiences that your parents or your grandparents have and how they pass that down to you, I think it's really important to acknowledge. So even though you may not have experienced something if your parents did, if they ever shared that story with you, you might have that ingrained memory somewhere. So you might freeze or have that flight or flight response in the same way your parents would have.
Okay, well then how about this? Like I'm Japanese American, right? So obviously I grew up with dual cultures. Do you think then like Americans should hate me because we used to be enemies of war? Like do you think they should judge the actions of my ancestors, let's say, on me?
No, absolutely not. I think part of that conversation that I just mentioned about trauma, it's important that we recognize that that exists, but also do some collective healing. So it's important for that individual to like look back and understand why they feel or react a certain way. It's important for society to do that and to have these kind of difficult conversations. Like I said, I'm really nervous answering your questions. I'm really nervous answering your questions, but I think it's important that like people have this type of dialogue, puts them in an uncomfortable position, makes them question why they think a certain way, why they hold certain beliefs, and that's the only way we're going to be able to move forward as a society.
I agree. So in that sense then, do you think that allowing racism against white people will achieve equality? Because you can't really use hate to achieve equality, right? No matter who is on the side of oppression. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think going back to my original answer, I don't think that it would be racism against white people. I think that there's going to be discrimination against white people. Whether or not that's fair or equal is a whole other nuanced conversation to be had.